Thousands are canceling their trip to Japan next month, seemingly because of a manga that has predicted a catastrophic disaster in Japan in July of this year. However, the manga artist does have a wild track record of their predictions coming true, so here is why this might make sense. Through these somewhat chilling facts, the question does arise: would you prefer to avoid Japan next month and play it safe, or would you possibly capitalize on the fewer crowds? Before you answer, let's go back to the horrifying origins of this prediction that has seemingly caused an 83% drop in flight bookings to Japan. And although there is some hard signs that might point to a horrifying seismic disaster in Japan this year, this current fear began decades ago with the simple publication of a manga in 1999 called The Future I Saw, or Watashi ga Mita Mirai by Ryo Tatsuki. This manga, at first glance, is a compilation of dreams that were specifically vivid in her past that she had and wanted to pen down. The supernatural element of this manga comes into play when you see that many of her dreams have specific future dates attached to them. The dream depiction that unfortunately gained her global attention was one of a massive earthquake disaster labeled with the year of 2011 and the month of March. And yes, that became the year and month of the horrendous triple tragedy of the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. At 2:46 p.m. on March 11th, the ground in Tohoku, Japan began to shake with a magnitude 9.1 earthquake. It was the most powerful earthquake ever recorded in Japan's history, and it lasted for a terrifying 6 minutes. But the worst was yet to come, because less than an hour later, the earthquake triggered a devastating tsunami, when 133-foot waves surged inland, engulfing coastal towns, sweeping away homes, cars, and lives. And entire communities in the Tohoku region were completely wiped out. Some of my friends from school in Japan have shared with me the horrifying accounts of their families dealing with this and the aftermath, and I'm talking with them about sharing those at some point. It's truly more horrific than I think you can even tell by all of the photos and news articles. And then the third part of the tragedy unfolded at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. The tsunami overwhelmed its cooling system, leading to meltdowns in 3 reactors, and this triggered explosions and the release of radioactive materials, forcing widespread evacuation and becoming the world's worst nuclear disaster since Chernobyl. This was a harrowing day that forever changed the nation, demanding immense resilience and a long road to recovery. So back to how this leads to thousands of people canceling their trips to Japan right now. It didn't take long for people to make the shocking discovery that it appeared this tragedy had been depicted in the 1999 manga The Future I Saw, with the year and month being accurate. And if this alone didn't lead many people to consider the other predictions made within this manga to hold some weight, several of the other dreams recorded seemed to have come true. Most notably, she predicted an unknown virus appearing in the year 2020, and we all went through misery that year, so we don't need to be told that was likely the pandemic. This prediction even included details like empty streets, people wearing masks, and massive political confusion. Next is another disaster. However, I could not find if people really made this connection before 2011. However, she is credited with predicting the 1995 Kobe earthquake that happened on January 17th, although this vision is much less specific, notably because these dreams came prior to the publication of her 1999 manga. Nonetheless, she is still said to have had dreams depicting the passing of the band Queen's frontman Freddie Mercury in 1991, as well as Princess Diana in 1997. All of this gained her the nickname Baba Vanga of Japan, drawing a parallel to the late Bulgarian mystic known for her prophetic legacy. So, now that you know this manga author's track record, what about next month, July 2025? Ryo Tatsuki actually re-released her manga Watashi ga Mita Mirai in 2021, but this time it included an updated prophecy of a real disaster in July 2025, specifically a huge tsunami, with chilling details such as the sea boiling south of Japan, seemingly depicting an underwater rupture between Japan and the Philippines, causing a mega tsunami. So, Ryo Tatsuki's widespread reputation of making predictions that come true, combined with seemingly social media, this prediction has caused thousands to cancel their trips to Japan next month. Now, it's hard to draw direct causality. However, a CNN report did state that despite lacking a scientific basis, these supernatural forecasts have created tangible economic impacts on Japan's tourist industry, citing sources such as CN Yuan, who is the managing director of a Hong Kong-based travel agency called WWPKG. And they reported that their bookings to Japan have dropped by over 50%, and that they predict them to drop even further. And that this all began around the same time that a popular Hong Kong psychic started speaking up about Ryo Tatsuki's 2025 July disaster prediction, which sparked fear that rapidly spread all over Hong Kong social media. These concerns and topics are also trending all over social media in China, Thailand, and Vietnam, where people are urging others to reconsider their trips to Japan around this time. Although this is mainly trending in Southeast Asia, it really does highlight the strength of social media to amplify unscientific predictions across a multitude of borders and demographics, much to the disappointment of Southeast Asian travel agencies. And I will be getting into the criticism and skepticism that these predictions very much face globally in a second, but before that, the actual real and verified scientific reports that many of these social media posts are citing to warn others of this being a pretty ominous year-end time to travel around Japan are wild, so let's touch on those. First and foremost is Japan's official government announcement that there is an 80% chance within the next 30 years of a massive earthquake hitting the Nankai Trough off the coast of Japan. I made a full video of this here that also covers the government warnings of how a Mount Fuji volcanic eruption could affect Tokyo and the surrounding prefectures. But in summary, this is a prediction made by scientists based on past seismic activity that the Nankai Trough will likely be the epicenter of a devastating natural disaster that will cripple multiple prefectures and displace hundreds of thousands. Online supporters of Ryo Tatsuki's predictions in Southeast Asia also bring up auspicious events like the unusual amount of volcanic activity this year. So far, we've seen about 54 volcanic eruptions globally, with 12 of them being brand new. In fact, literally while I was recording this today, on June 17th, I saw news of a new volcanic eruption from Luotobi, a twin volcano in the southeastern part of the island of Flores, Indonesia. And the photos and videos of this I'm seeing are insane. That, along with the devastating magnitude 7.7 earthquake that hit Myanmar and Thailand on March 28th this year, really seem to be fueling fears that are perpetuating around social media in Southeast Asia and compelling many to cancel their flights to Japan for next month. So that's what you got, and before you tell me whether or not you think that's a compelling reason to avoid Japan next month for you or those in your circle, let me touch on the skepticism. This has always been a channel that very much tries to inspire and encourage everyone to travel, even though I generally don't want to look down on others' beliefs, especially when they pertain to disasters of this magnitude, starting with Ryo Tatsuki herself. Based on all I've found on her, and even with these current events bringing her massive attention, she really never did seem to try to leverage any of it for monetary gain or even fame. The manga is now actually even out of print, and although the original 1999 edition was reselling for a pretty high price, the re-release still sells for pretty cheap, and she's so unambitious from a business standpoint that there's even a Japanese conspiracy theory that her works have been suppressed by an unknown organization because she quote-unquote knows too much. I don't really know about that, but it honestly does seem to me that she is just a passionate artist that enjoys drawing her vivid dreams. Most of the skepticism is obvious, but it really became clear while I was researching this, looking into Japan's psychic community or the online community in general, because there are a lot of people predicting a lot of things all of the time, and many of those are earthquakes, being that Japan is very earthquake prone, being situated on the Pacific Ring of Fire. It almost seems like a statistics game that some of them will come true every now and then. But the most ominous thing to me initially was the seemingly wild amount of volcanic eruption that we have seen this year. Since I was young and saw Lord of the Rings, being ended by a volcano seemed like one of the worst ways to go, so part of that struck me. But upon reading posts by some people that are adamantly against psychics' predictions in general, to the point where I was suspicious that they were funded by the travel agencies who are losing business, that according to data from the Global Volcanism program from early May, 54 confirmed eruptions is currently below the recent average for total annual eruptions. The annual total from 2010 to 2023 being around 80 volcanoes, usually of a greater magnitude a year, which is also wild to me. And then I continued to find out that many news outlets have likely inflated the sense of panic that many of these events have spread, mainly because of the visually shocking nature of the footage that has been circulated online of them, most notably Kilauea in Hawaii with lava fountains of over 1,000 feet, Mount Etna in Italy that made headlines with its big pyroclastic flow, and wild videos of tourists running from it, as well as the eruption in the Philippines that literally has just happened today. Again, look at these photos. Anyway, those are the facts. As for me, I don't think I would make a definitive choice for a July trip based on this. I'm not gonna say it doesn't shake me, but in the back of my mind, I will review what I learned about Tokyo being a global leader in earthquake safety, where over 87% of the buildings are constructed to incredibly strict modern anti-seismic standards, with regular regularly updated building codes. The city is built to sway, not fall. Again though, back to Lord of the Rings, as a child, a volcano would be different. But anyway, please let me know your thoughts, I'm curious, or if you're going to be in Japan during this time, I hope you take precautions. As always, thank you a ton for watching, please like and subscribe, but even if you don't, good luck and be safe. And if you have any wild, vivid dreams, maybe make a manga out of them. I may be making another video about this depending on what happens next month. Bye.